ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining in for today's reading and discussion. We are on Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 1, verse number 19 onwards. Text number 19. So what happened after the Pandavas blew their conch shell? Saghosho dhritarashtraṇāṃ hridayāni vayadarayat navascha prithivim chaiva tumalo abhayanunadayan. So what happened to the sons of Dhritarashtra? The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. When Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned. But in this particular verse, it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. Something to highlight for yourself. Text number 20. Now, what happens next? Now, the conches have blown, which means both the sides are ready to fight. So, what happened next? Did the war begin or something else happen? That's the discussion. Text number 20. Atha vaivasthitan drishva dhritarashtraṃ kapi dvajah pravatte shastra sampate dhanurudyamya pandavaha rishikesham tada vakyam idam aha mahipate. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot, bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in the military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Shri Krishna these words. Purports. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory. Because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Ram and Ravana, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now, both Ram and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Hey, how was Rama's present? This is Krishna Lila. Ram and Krishna same only, na? That's the reason. Lord Krishna is Rama himself. And wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal servitor Hanuman, his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Text number 21 and 22. Everything seems very positive, upbeat about Pandavas winning the war. Text number 21 and 22. Arjuna vacha senayorabhayo madhye ratam sthapyami achyuta yavadetani raksheham yodukaman avasthitan kairmaya saha yodavyam asmin rana samudyame. And now Arjuna speaks and he says, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desires to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. So to whom did Arjuna is speaking this shloka, or who he is conversing with? He is conversing with his charioteer. He is asking chariot to drive my horse. Now, where is Krishna? But Krishna comes in the first line. Senayor bhayor madhye ratham sthapya me achyuta. Achyuta is another name of Krishna. So that's how you understand the charioteer is none different than Krishna. Purport. All the Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his cosmic mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. Very important point, highlight. He never fails in his affection for his devotees. And thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord. Similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes great pleasure, in fact, greater pleasure in his pure devotees, assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. Since he is master, everyone is under his orders and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come into the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. Text number 23. Yosyamana navakshayaham yaite yata atra samagataha dhitrashtrasya durbuddhir yuddhe priyachikshava. Let me see who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Purport. It was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to serve the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather. Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory, because Krishna was simply sitting by his side. Text number 24. So this is a classic example of idol's mind is devil's workshop. जब डिक्लेरेशन हो गया युद्ध करो ना, क्यों टाइम पास करने का है? Because Arjuna did time pass, we got Bhagavad Gita. So this was a good time pass. But in our case, our time pass is generally dangerous. Make a point of itself, okay? Text number 24. Sanjaya vacha evam yukto rishikesho gudakrishna bharata senayorvayo madhye sthapitva ratottamam. So what did Lord did? He brought the chariot between the two armies. That's what this verse says. So Sanjaya is telling the Dhritarashtra purport. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesh. So Sanjaya is telling the Dhritarashtra. Arjuna is referred as Gudakesh. So you may not understand the meaning of Gudakesh, but Dhritarashtra understands. So Sanjaya, all through his conversation, keeps giving subtle indication to Dhritarashtra, you have no chance to win. And this is one indication. Gudakesh means what? Gudaka means sleep. Gudakesha, who has conquered sleep. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in walking or sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness or Samadhi. As Rishikesh, or the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. Text number 25. Bhishmadrona pramuktaha sarvisham cha mahishitam vachapata pashyetam samvetan kuruniti. In the presence of Bhishmadrona, all of the chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold Partha, all the Kurus assembled here. Purport. As a super soul of all living entities, Lord Krishna could understand what was going on in the mind of Arjuna. The use of word Rishikesh in this connection indicates that he knew everything, which means control of the senses. And the word Partha means the son of Kunti. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was the son of Pratha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva, he had agreed to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Now, what did Krishna mean when he told Arjuna to behold the Kurus? Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Pratha. The mind of Arjuna was thus predicted by the Lord in friendly joking. Because Arjuna said, Mighty Lord, bring my chariot in the middle of the armies. So for what? To behold the army? So Krishna said, now see the army. But where did Krishna brought the chariot? Bhishma Drona Pramuktaha. In the huge flanks of army, Krishna brought the chariot right in front of his most dear elders, Bhishma and Drona. And Krishna said, Dekho, Prem se dekho. So Arjuna became bewildered. That's what happens now. Text number 26. Imagine if Krishna would have brought the chariot in front of Duryodhan. Dekho. So Arjuna, before seeing only, would have shot an arrow. But here there was no case of this. So that's the reason it is said Rishikesha, because Krishna could understand the mind of Arjuna that he was, becoming overwhelmed. Oh, my relatives. Text number 26. Tatra pashya sitan pata pitran ata pitamahan acharyan matulan bratran putra sakam sata shvashuran shrudaschaiva senayorapayorapi. There Arjuna could see, within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers. Purport. Hare Krishna. Everything fine? I will? Yeah. On the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Bhurishrava, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakuni, mothers like Duryodhan, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Kritavama, etc. He could see also the armies which contained many of his friends. So, very important thing here. I'll not go into details, but just to give a quick lessons here for our practice. First chapter is the most important chapter for all of us to begin Bhagavad Gita. The problems in our life, first of all, begins with seeing. Because seeing means our own perceptions. We don't see the truth. We see based on our perceptions. So therefore, how do we see the world? We should see the world through our ears, through the process of Shravanam. So those who regularly hear scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, their vision is entirely different from the vision of those conditioned materialists who sees the world with their conditioned mind. And what is the difference? For those who are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita scriptures like Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc. on a regular basis, they see the world as a place of reformation. They see the world as part and parcel of the Lord. They don't doubt who is the authority, who is the controller, proprietor, and enjoyer. Whereas the conditioned living entities see this world as his place of enjoyment, an opportunity for him to become the ruler, enjoyer, and proprietor, and the struggle begins. So seeing is believing is a false notion. And here, all problems of Arjuna began because he started to see. That's the point here. Text number 27. Tan samaksha sakonteya sarvan bandhunavastitan kripaya paryavishto vishidan idam abravit. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Arjuna said, Arjuna vacha drashvimam swajanam krishna yusum samupashtitam siddhanti mama gatrani mukam cha parishusyati. Oh, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. Purport. Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly person and the demigods. Whereas the non-devotees However advanced he may be in material qualifications, by education, culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as the soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And while he was so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver. His mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna, had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but due to his soft-heartedness. A characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord, it is said, therefore, recite. Yasyasi bhakta bhagavate akanchana sarva gunai satra samasate suraha harav bhaktasya karo mahadguna manoratena siddhavato bahi, was spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, 5th Canto. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality Godhead, who has all the good qualities of the demigods. But one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Text number 29. Vepatuscha sharire me roma hashascha jayate gandivam shamshate hasta tvakchaiva paridayate. So Arjuna asked Krishna to draw his chariot within the battle, and seeing his relatives, Arjuna has become perturbed and disturbed, and now his body is quivering. And now in this verse, Arjuna explains further about his situation, and he says, my whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. Purport. There are two kinds of trembling of the body and two kinds of standings on the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow Gandiva was slipping from his hands. And because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All these are due to a material conception of life. Text number 30. Na cha shaknomi vastatum bhramti vichame manaha nimitani cha pashyami vipritani keshava. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am now forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. My tablet. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon. Purport. Due to his impatience, Arjuna was unable to stay on the battlefield, and he was forgetting himself on account of his weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in such a bewildering condition of existence. Very, very important. Bhayam. Bhayam dvitya viniveshata syat. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium take place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna envisioned only painful reverses in the battlefield. He could not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. The words nimitani, vipritani are significant. When a man sees only frustration and expectations, he thinks, why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self, interest by Krishna's will. Once the real self-interest lies in Vishnu or Krishna, the conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him. So you can guess what's happening now. He's saying, I'm unable to stand any longer. My mind is reeling. So he's just moments away before he says, I quit. I give it up. That's the symptoms. That's what is leading to. Text number 31. Na che shreyo anupashyami hatva sajanamahave na kangshe vijayam Krishna na cha rajam sukhani cha. I do not see any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, nor can I see my dear Krishna desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Puppet. Without knowing that one's self-interest isn't Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes of for a Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the persons in the renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture, are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsman there would be no happiness in this life. Therefore, he is not willing to fight. Just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. Oh, so if you're not hungry, you should not cook. Imagine if the mother starts behaving like this, then you will not get your food. So very, very brilliant point Prabhupada is making. Huh? Because Arjuna is not inclined to fight, is disinterested from fighting or winning the war, so he should not fight. He's a Kshatriya. It's his duty to punish the culprits. Getting it? That's the point. What a beautiful point, example for this. He has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. This is what is called as Falgu renunciation. When the person goes to a cremation ground, everyone says, life has no meaning. We are wasting so much time on earning money. There is no use. And then he comes back and again he starts talking about how to make money. That is called as Falgu Viragya. Alright? Text number 32 to 35. Kim no rajena govinda kim bhoge jivate nava yeshamarte kangshitam no rajam bhoga shukhani cha tam ime avastha yuddhe pranam tyaktva danani cha acharyaha pitaraha putras tatheva cha pitamaha matula shvashura putraha श्यालः सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान् हन्तुमिच्छामि नतोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्यराजस्य हेतो किं नो मही कृते निहत्या धृतराष्ट्रान्नः का प्रीति स्या जनार्दन. O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even a life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? Oh Madhusudan, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brother-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them? Even though they might otherwise kill me, O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds. Let alone this earth, what pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Puppet. Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasure for cows and the senses. By using this significant word, Arjuna indicates that Krishna should understand what will satisfy Arjuna's senses. But Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. If we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, however, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses and he wants God to be the order supply for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities, please highlight, as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may covet, which means desire. But when one takes the opposite way, namely when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entities are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here partly due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed on the battlefield and will be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is the typical calculation of material life. I'm not going into details of the reasons Arjuna gave. You can all refer to the PowerPoint for all those reasons. Okay, I'll just go in the flow. The transcendental life, however, is different. Since the devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. And if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before their coming into the battlefield, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. Lord Shri Krishna will speak about this himself in 11th chapter. This fact is disclosed in following chapters. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers. But it was the Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. So who was the devotee who was really mistreated by the Kauravas? Against whom or for whom Lord wanted to kill all the Kauravas? Arjuna, Yudhishthira, Bhima, Nakul, Sahadev. Who? Draupadi. That's the point. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. So Arjuna was willing to forgive whatever wrong done Kauravas had done to himself. And Krishna was totally fine. But Arjuna had no right to interfere in the punishment that Kauravas deserved for offending Draupadi. And Krishna had already made the decision. That's the point here. Text number 36. Papam vivashrayadasma hatvaitan atatainaha tasmanarha vayam hantum dhitrashtra savandhuvan swajanam hi katam hatva sukhina shyama madhava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such a... No, Arjuna is speaking, right? Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? See, I've already discussed that. I am highlighting again. Arjuna could have said Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. But he's calling him Madhava, Madhusudana, Rishikesha. Right? I said the point yesterday. Because Krishna is known by different names through his activities. And in a particular conversation, to reflect a mood, you are reflecting a particular name to represent a context, which means you understand the meaning of it. For example, you want to speak somebody to about his good programming skills. Oh, IT engineer! Your mother may call you sometime. And when she is fed up with you, you duffer! Like that. So you understand what's going on. She doesn't have to give a purport to it. Purport. According to Vedic injunction, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. Poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies another's land, one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting an ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Rama, Ramrajya. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Ram, and because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife, Sita, Lord Ram gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than killing his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the method of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasure derived therefore are not permanent. So why should he risk his life, eternal salvation, by killing his own kinsman? Arjuna addressing of Krishna as Madhava, which means the husband of goddess of fortune, is significant. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as a husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing to his devotees. Very important point, highlight. Many times people say, oh, Krishna instigated Arjuna to fight and was the cause of the violence. Krishna is not the cause of the violence. Text number 37 and 38. Yadyapi etena pashyanti lobapahata chetasah kulashya kritam dosham mitradohe chapatakam katam nagneyam asmabhi papadasma nivartitum kulakshaya kritam dosham prapasyadbhir janadana. So Arjuna is giving different reasonings why I should not fight. Now he gives another reason for not fighting. Oh Janardana, although these men, their hearts are overtaken by griefs, fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in this acts of sin? Purport. A Kshatriya is not supposed to, so he is thinking that he'll incur sin. A Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. Under such an obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjuna considered that other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good. But when the effect is otherwise, very important, please highlight. But when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. An example is Brahma and his 4 sons. When Brahma wanted them to get married, they said, Tata bye bye, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. We're not. So they were obliged to follow the order of their father, and they were the first sons of Brahma. And the whole creation began with disobedience, fight between the sons and the father. And that was for a good cause. They said, we don't want to get married because that will bind us, in that sense. That was their realization. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. Let's read one more verse and we'll pause for that. Text number 39. Kulakshaya pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharminaste kulam krishnam adharmo bhavati yuta. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family traditions is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. The destruction of family traditions is what another excuse Arjuna gives. Purport. In the system of the Varnashram institution, there are many principles of religious tradition to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying process in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits, and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. Like that. So I'll just read out the verse and translation. We'll leave the purport later on because it's the same continuation. Text number 14. Adharma bhavat Krishna pradushanti kulastriya srishu dushta suvashneya jayate varna sankara. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the woman of the family becomes polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. We'll read the purport tomorrow, and I'll request all of you to later in the day when you get time, at least go through the translation so that at least you can remember the conversation and your mind can munch on the discussion which is happening here. It's a very practical and relevant discussion, so take that opportunity to reflect on it. With that, we come here with the conclusion of our today's discussion. Thank you all very much. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to send your questions on the link, which are probably shared on the WhatsApp, not on the WhatsApp, on the Zoom chat as well as on YouTube chat. Jagadru Srila Prabhupada ki. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki. So today we finish up to verse number 38, right? 40. So, which means almost around 20 verses. Yesterday also we had around 18 verses. So there are 700 verses. Who is good in mathematics? Which means 35 days. So, which means 35 days, we shall be able to finish whole Bhagavad Gita, which sometimes individually takes us lifetime. How many of us have picked up Bhagavad Gita but could never complete reading by our own? Raise your hand. You might have completed it now, that's a different thing, but you have had a failed attempts reading by yourself. Started, failed. So I guess there's a good advantage of this reading program together, to come and read together. Not only this Bhagavad Gita, let this get completed, I have more plans for reading. I would like to read all Prabhupada books actually, and continue with this thing. And start our day early in the morning with Prabhupada reading. Apple a day make you healthy and wise. Prabhupada reading or Prabhupada purpose make you healthy and wise and protect you from Maya rest of the day and rest of the life. So let's see how our participation goes. But my plan after this is to start all Prabhupada small books. How many of you have read all the Prabhupada small books? Raise your hand. Okay, that's all right. That's a difficult question I'm asking. So we'll say that. So like that, we'll continue keeping in touch with spiritual vibration. With that, we conclude here for today. Once again, any questions, please ping on that. Ask a question link, web link for that. Hare Krishna.